On May 15th, Drake dropped arguably the most highly anticipated rap project of the year, Iceman.
Not one, not two, but three whole-ass Drake albums.
He's been teasing the record for close to a year, and it's recently just dropped along with two other surprise albums that nobody saw coming. It's one of the most creative moves an artist has done in recent memory, and I personally can't recall a time an artist has dropped three projects on the same day. It's a standout move, however, the way Drake approached it seemed to be something that may have been better in theory than real life. Reactions to the albums have been very mixed. Drake definitely has a diehard fan base that's riding for the projects, but at the same time, a lot of people are walking away feeling underwhelmed and disappointed. Because of this, today we're doing a full breakdown of Drake's Iceman project, the moves he's been making in the last year leading up to it, and why people are upset with how things played out. Let's get into it.
Out in the six, I'm a national treasure. The niggas that bad me gon' bad me forever.
Before getting into the music and how people feel about it, we've got to talk about this rollout because honestly, it was S tier. I've never seen such a well thought out, well executed rollout in my entire life. Drake started promoting Iceman back in 2025 with a very creative YouTube series with the same name. The series was a cinematic rollout where Drake previewed songs and live streamed himself driving around the city in a branded ice truck, engaging with fans. He claimed he did this because he was bored with the typical album rollout stuff like interviews and music videos and wanted to switch things up. He spoke about this mindset during a sit-down interview with Complex. Quote, "I love the opportunity for a clean slate of thoughts and excitement. What I hate is the redundancy of this formulaic approach from early label days. Single, video, album cover post, etc. I've been dying to act and have been dying for a challenge. The game is extremely calm seas right now. Nobody is rocking any boat on the water." Once we discussed a live stream rollout, it sounded like the perfect mix of risk and reward. He also pulled a series of incredible stunts in the city of Toronto that made his project impossible to ignore. First, he set up a massive ice block in a Toronto parking lot and told fans the release date was hidden in the center of the ice. And when I say massive, I mean massive. The thing was over 25 feet tall and had about 200 tons of ice made from 3,500 individual ice blocks. It reportedly took over 20 trucks to transport all the ice into downtown Toronto. Unfortunately for Drake, the stunt was seen as a massive safety hazard, so the Toronto Fire Department swooped in with massive hoses to melt the ice. It would have been cooler if they used like flamethrowers or something like that, but we'll take what we can get. After that, he orchestrated a massive explosion in Downsview Park as a part of an upcoming music video. And again, when I say massive, I mean massive. It was so big, loud, and abrasive that it actually made residents panic that something terrible had happened. And this fear feeling was amplified because in 2008, there was a propane tank explosion in the same neighborhood that killed an employee and forced 12,000 people to evacuate. So basically, Drake re-traumatized the community for a music video. Damn. The park felt pretty guilty about it though, so they put out a formal apology about the situation. The management team at Downsview Park would like to sincerely apologize to our neighbors and the surrounding community for the distress that may have been caused by last night's third-party film shoot at Downsview Park, which included a blast effect and loud noises. We understand that the unexpected sounds were alarming and unsettling for many, and we are sorry the disruption this may have caused. While there is never any risk to public safety and Toronto police services and fire services were involved, we recognize that this does not lessen the impact the experience had on those affected. That is super crazy. Next, he froze the CN Tower in Toronto by projecting a massive ice blue light onto it, looking like something fresh out of a sci-fi movie. Then he ended off the saga by putting out a massive fireworks show, making the album release feel like a true celebration. And we can't forget Drake icing out his front row seats to a Raptors game, making sure his movement was put front and center on primetime TV. And honestly, I respect it. It's nice to see artists wanting and being willing to push the boundaries of creativity, especially in marketing, which is something that's traditionally seen as boring. Some people ended up getting annoyed with how hard Drake was going with the promo, to the point people were like, "Alright bro, I get it." But he silenced those voices when he over-delivered on his promises, putting out 3 albums in a single night with no warning at all.
Beach me, baby, twisting it. My name and don't say it too loud.
This has to be a first in hip-hop and probably a first in any genre in music. If you know anyone else who's done this, please let me know in the comments because I've never seen it before. Drake really dropped 3 albums in one day, 43 songs, 2 hours and 27 minutes of runtime. That is absolutely crazy and rivals Chris Brown's work ethic. He dropped 45 songs on his Heartbreak on a Full Moon tape, but that was still just one album. 3 albums in one day is historic. It seems like a head-scratching move at first, but there's some solid reasons why this was one of Drake's smartest chess moves yet. One, like I've been saying, no one's ever done this before. The story in and of itself will drive people to listen to the projects even if they don't love Drake's music. 2, each tape had its own sound. Iceman was the flagship album where he spoke on everything we wanted to hear from Drake, while Habibti gave us the Toronto R&B feel, and Maid of Honor delivered the club-banging, song of the summer type vibes. But 3, and most importantly, Drake wanted to finesse his label UMG. Drake and his label haven't been seeing eye to eye for a label, mainly because of the Kendrick beef, which UMG allegedly fueled, promoted, and monetized. This caused Drake to sue his label in what was seen as one of the softest moves any rapper has ever done in history. Drake wanted to cut ties with his label and reclaim control of his art and get away from the label politics, but he had to deliver 3 albums before he could get out of his deal. So instead of spacing them out every year or two like most artists would, he dropped them all on the same day. And honestly, it's a smart move, so kudos to Drake for that. Despite the boldness of this play, the way the music was actually received was interesting, to say the least.
Drake needs now more than any other time in his career.
I give respect and I give credit where it's due.
The reactions to Drake's 3 new albums were all over the place. Responses ranged from "this is the greatest thing since sliced bread" to "Drake should be embarrassed to show his face in public." In fact, people were judging the project before it even dropped. Several alleged leaks came out days before the albums dropped, and the reason I say alleged is because while some were legit, like 1AM in Albany and Supermax, others were AI generated by who knows who, made to just stir the pot and get people talking. Anthony Fantana was one of the people to judge the tape based on leaks that, again, he didn't even know if they were real or AI. Kind of a scary time when you can barely tell what's real and what's not anymore. Regardless, the tape officially dropped on the 15th, and people's reactions to it were very strong. There's a few common themes to how people felt about the music. The first bucket of people said the tape was, like I said before, incredible, a true masterpiece, and something that'll go down in the hip-hop history books. People praised the production, which I personally agree with. I thought the beats went crazy. They also praised the lyricism, highlighting Drake's songwriting, double entendres, and his ability to be vague and direct at the same time. To this day, that skill is why people listen to Drake's songs 1,000 times, dissecting every line to see who and what he's talking about. People also showed love to the 15 music videos he dropped in a matter of 24 hours. 15 in 24 hours. That is crazy, and again, something that we've never seen before. Aiden Ross showed big love to it. Joe Budden, who's been one of Drake's most consistent haters over the years, he showed love to it and praised Drake for leaning into his authenticity. Even Boosie showed love, tweeting about how big the record was in his hood. Quote, "This nigga Drake out his damn mind. I stopped at the gas station this morning and the whole gas station playing Drake. I walked in the barber shop and every suite playing it. My niggas run the phone soon as they walk in the prison. I felt that." On top of that, people were hyped that Drake finally responded to those who turned their backs on him over the years, especially during the fallout from losing the Kendrick battle. He took aim at DJ Khaled on Make Them Pay.
And Khaled, you know what I mean. The beef was fully live. You went halal and got on your dean.
At LeBron James on Make Them Remember.
I shouldn't even be shocked to see you in that arena, because you always made your career off of switching teams up.
DeMar DeRozan on National Treasures.
You was a part of the team. We used to be planning our Mexico trip in the spring. We must have been dealing in spur of the moment. Why did we think you could get us a ring?
At Dr. Dre on Make Them Remember.
If Drake took out the AK, maybe he'd be in jail, just based off the name that it spells.
And most importantly, at Kendrick on several songs.
Damn, who is this guy for real? I guess a magician. 100 million streams vanished, no one got questioned. And Muggsy Bogues dunk for once, even I'm a bit amazed. White kids listen to you, cause they feel some guilt, and that's how your soul gets fulfilled.
These bars gave insights to how Drake has been feeling in the last 2 years, and fans were hyped to see him publicly address it all. So that's bucket 1, people who wholeheartedly love the records. Bucket 2 are people who just felt that it was okay. It was just like average. And to be honest, this seems to be the biggest bucket of people. They feel that it was just okay, not bad, but not great, just kind of forgettable. People who fell into this camp include Black Boy Max, Dub, Sean C, Anthony Fantano, who not only thought the project was mid, but said that Drake needed to stop sounding so hurt on records. And that's the next biggest theme in this bucket. People are like, he's still caught up on the beef. It's been 2 years, let it go. Wayno had this opinion, Charlemagne had this opinion, Trap Lord Ross as well, and honestly, myself. Like, for real, like, let it go, bro. Blackboy Max also made a great point in his video. He said for the amount of effort Drake put into the rollout, the actual music should have been way stronger. It was like an insanely polished rollout leading to a bunch of songs that just felt like they were throwaway tracks compiled on a project. At the same time, I wouldn't say that it's trash. I wouldn't take it that far. I wouldn't, but a lot of other people would, which makes up our last bucket of people. This was some bullshit. I can't believe I wasted 2.5 hours of my life listening to this trash bucket. This is the group of people who felt Drake teased the project for way too long for how ass that it was. The group claimed his songs were forgettable and criticized the decision to drop that much music at one time. And honestly, the last point, I could agree with that. Although he strategically did this to get out of his deal, barely anyone will be able to digest that amount of music. Tracks that could have done wild numbers are gonna get buried in the mess of songs that just flooded DSPs. This bucket also felt Drake sounded way too bitter and sensitive for his grown age, and again, for how long ago the Kendrick beef happened that made people turn on him. People in this camp included Elliott Wilson, someone who Drake has had lots of issues with throughout the years. He simply tweeted, "Make them pay, trophy emoji," but that about it. The NFR podcast said Drake should have stopped at Iceman, and various people on Twitter had lots of strong opinions. I'll read some highlight responses that I found. Quote, "Just finished listening to Iceman, currently lost for words, man, crying real tears. Drake, bro, this is quite possibly, quite literally, sincerely, the worst possible music I've ever heard. My ears are dripping with blood, currently on the way to the emergency room on May 15th. Drake is outdated and an emotional guy. I get on Twitter and Drake has dropped not 1, but 3 albums, 3 attacks on civilization. But nobody hated on the project as hard and deep as Rick Ross did." Pause. The two of them have had issues for years, dating back to 2015 when Ross inherited Meek Mill's beef with Drake. Things really exploded between them in 2024 during the Kendrick situation and when Ross dropped his brutal diss track towards Drake, Champagne Moments.
You ain't never wanna be a nigga anyway. That's why you had operation to make your nose smaller than your father nose, nigga.
When Drake dropped his 3 albums and Ross heard he got dissed on Make Them Pay, he saw it as another chance to terrorize his op. But he didn't just say it's trash and call it a day. He did his research, compiled a bunch of comments of people calling it ass, and read them off to the camera. This level of hating needs to be studied in universities. So with all that said, feelings about Drake's releases are all over the place. I think for me personally, I land somewhere in the middle. As a producer, I think the production is absolutely nasty, and I appreciate the fact that Drake is speaking his truth and wearing his heart on his sleeve. At this point in his career, I would much rather see this than some shake ass in the club type music. I also agree that even though the beats are fire, musically, this is something that we've seen before. We've seen this recipe of Drake, his double entendres and puzzle type rapping over down-tempo, moody trap beats. It's nice, but it's something that we've seen before. He did break the mold on one West Coast track that he did, but it was, no. I'm sorry, no. So I'm team middle. I'm not disappointed, but I'm not exactly thrilled about this. Granted, that's after one listen. In my opinion, it could swing either way the more time I sit with the music. Let me know where you stand on the album in the comments. But also at the end of the day, no one's hating opinion really matters because Iceman did 140 million streams in the first 24 hours and Drake overall did 250 million streams. So no matter how anyone feels, bro took the W.
Why do you care so much about success?
I'm just addicted to it.
With all that said, what's next in the pipeline for Drake? Well, for one, I could almost guarantee a world tour is coming. People 1,000,000% want to see Drake perform these songs live, despite how much hate there is around the albums. So he's gonna tour and make a shit ton of money off of it. I'm honestly scared to see what those ticket prices are going to look like. After that, it's kind of hard to say. I don't know if Drake has anything left to prove on the mic. He's one of the most successful artists ever, and he's left everything on the table with these albums. In my opinion, I think these releases, plus the one last hurrah tour, would let Drake resign with some dignity. We'll stay tapped in to see what he does next, but overall, I think this was a huge W for him. And if you want to watch another video on why hip-hop never respected Drake, I have a full breakdown of it on the channel here. Check it out.